Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Benji-Sales live chat. It is so good to be back. It is so good to see everyone. Hello. It is cold and rainy today where I live. So, not the best day for weather, but let me tell you what, it's a great day to talk about the video game industry. So, for those of you like me who love numbers, who love sales updates, who loves milestones, who loves to watch the industry, boy, do we have a lot of new data we can talk about. Microsoft have just revealed their last quarter earnings, which of course has new info on the Xbox business. Same with Sony and PlayStation, and we have had multiple new updates and milestones for other games as well. So we've got a ton we can talk about there. Halo Infinite just had a re-reveal of its campaign. Did some big metrics. We can talk about that, what we think, what we're expecting, and more. So let me really quick start pulling up some of the main topics that we can talk about. I'm going to give you a breakdown and a rundown really quick of the big stuff that came out of Sony and Microsoft. And then we're going to start diving into your comments and your questions. So for anyone, if this is your first time ever as part of my live chat, basically the way this works, this show, it's 100% driven by you, your comments, your questions, and we really break down and talk about the video game industry for about an hour to an hour and a half once a week. So make sure you start dropping your questions down into chat. There's going to be two ways to do that. First of all, of course, there's the free method. You just type a question, it pops into chat, and I get to as many of those as I possibly can. However, if you want to 100% guarantee that you get your question answered, the way to do that is going to be the super chat option. You just type in a donation of whatever you want. It alerts me and I get to super chats immediately. Now, of course, as always, don't feel pressured. Don't feel obligated to donate into super chat. It's just a way to help support me and the channel, but I get to tons of free questions as well. So start dropping those questions down into chat. All right, let me really quick give you that first brief overview, and then I'm going to start diving into your comments and your questions. It is freezing in my room right now, by the way. Freezing. Okay. So first let's talk about PlayStation, right? Because they gave us kind of like more beefy, more detailed numbers of the two. So there's a little bit more info there than we can glean out of Microsoft. So for PlayStation in their last quarter, PlayStation 5 shipped 3.3 million units. So they're doing about a million a month last quarter, right? On average, slightly higher, but about a million units a month. And they've reached 13.4 million units lifetime shipped. Now, they sold 76.4 million units of software. That's between PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. And of that, 7.6 million of those were first-party games. Digital full game software ratio was 62%. So 62% of all games sold on PlayStation were done digitally. And 47.2 million PlayStation Plus subscribers, and they have 104 million monthly active users. So a bunch of data there. PlayStation 5 has actually now fallen behind PlayStation 4 launch aligned in terms of shipments. However, it is ahead of PlayStation 4 still in sell-through. So to kind of make sense of that, PlayStation 4 by this point in its life cycle was readily available. You know, you could find them on store shelves. It was no issue. PlayStation 4 was very easy to find at this point in its life cycle. The problem for PS5 is they are so supply constrained that basically everything's sold out. So even though shipments are slightly behind PlayStation 4 now launch aligned, in terms of like consoles actually to consumers, like people having them, it's higher than PS4 in the same time frame. So that's good and bad news for them. It just shows how much higher PS5 sales could be if they were readily available. But 13.4 million while supply constrained, great result. Okay, so for Xbox, you know, as we all know, they don't provide near as clarity on data as Sony do, but we do have some stuff that we can pull out here. So total gaming revenue was up 16%. That's just total for the gaming business for Xbox. Nice to see growth there. Xbox content and services was only up 2%. So, of course, it's always better to be up than down, but we didn't see huge growth there. And here's what Microsoft had to say about that. Game Pass subscribers increased, and that helped offset a decline in third-party game sales. So keep in mind, content and services, what does that include for Microsoft? It's like everything, right? So that's going to include, well, not hardware, but like everything with software. So that's going to include games they sell. It's going to include Game Pass subscribers. It's going to include Xbox Live Gold subscribers. It's going to include microtransactions, DLC, like all that, right? It's content and services. So basically, all those ways people are spending money in their ecosystem that's not hardware related, that's not buying consoles, that's not buying controllers and stuff like that, that's going to be in that. So they were up 2%. Game Pass subscriber growth and first-party games helped offset a decline in third-party games. And then Xbox hardware revenue grew by 166%. And of course, that was driven by ongoing demand for Xbox Series X and S. One thing that's worth noting is that Amy Hood said on the conference call that they actually shipped more Series X and S than they originally anticipated last quarter. Now, of course, Series X is still massively supply constrained, but it is nice to see that they ship more consoles than they expected. And Xbox shipments are now estimated. Microsoft didn't give us this number, but doing some rough math, it looks like Series X and S are a bit over 8 million units shipped now. So a bit over 8 for Xbox and then 13.4 for PS5. And then right before I jump into your comments and questions, just 2 more updates that I want to highlight here. Tales of Arise has now shipped 1.5 million units. That continues the pace for the fastest ever for a Tales of game. So it continues to do excellent for Tales of Arise. My personal expectation now after seeing this update, I think they're going to be able to get over 2 million by the end of the year, because keep in mind, you know, we have November and December right ahead of us. That's the big holiday season. I'm sure this game's going to get some discounts in November and December. Keep in mind, this 1.5 million units, that's mostly been done at full price. This game has not been discounted heavily in the West yet, so it still has some nice sales it can do ahead of it. If it does over 2 million by the end of the year, that is going to be absolutely incredible for this franchise. So great result there for Tales of Arise. And then the last update here before your comments and questions, Back 4 Blood has reached over 6 million players in only 2 weeks. That's incredible, right? I mean, 2 weeks to have over 6 million players. This game appears to be probably the biggest success ever yet for a third-party day one game on Game Pass. Now, this game has also sold a lot. We saw it do great concurrent player numbers on Steam. I'm sure it sold a bunch of copies on Xbox and PlayStation, but it also has been a giant success on Game Pass. So Back 4 Blood, I mean, 6 million players in 2 weeks is incredible. All right, everyone, so that's like kind of the updates, right? That's kind of the breakdown. Now let's start diving into your comments and questions. Already a whole bunch there. Make sure you start filling that up. Timmer72299 with a 2 super chat, just saying keep being awesome. You keep being awesome as well, Timmer. Thanks for being in every chat. Thanks for always being so supportive. Plastic Hearts Podcast here with a 5 super chat. Benji boy, what's the deal with the possible WB game Smash Brothers style game? They have a ton of properties, so actually does sound interesting. Yeah, this is going to be kind of wild. So for anyone that hasn't seen this yet, it basically leaked that, yeah, there's a new WB games like Smash Bros. Brawler style fighting game. And whenever we say it's like WB, it's like, I mean, kind of wild and crazy crossovers. There's Gandalf in this game, apparently, Batman, Superman, a whole bunch of random properties are in there. Even stuff rumored like DLC characters like LeBron from Space Jam. Like, this is wild, right? It's going to be a total mashup. I think it could be successful, to be honest. WB has a lot of big properties. Now, keep in mind, the game itself needs to be good, right? It can't come out and be bad. But they have a lot of big properties. I think this could be successful if the game itself is good. We just saw, like, kind of the hype that Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl had. We haven't had a ton of sales milestones yet for that game, but it seemed at least on the surface that game's done well. There's definitely demand for these style of games. So if it's good, I could definitely see this being successful. Now, do I think it's going to be some, like, 20 million unit seller, 15, 10 million even? I don't know about all that, but I think it could sell millions. I think they could sell, a few million copies of this if it's good. Shaggy from Scooby-Doo apparently is going to be in it. Like, it's wild, right? So, if the game itself is good, I think it could definitely be successful. I'm not sure when they're going to officially announce this, but considering things like roster leaks are already happening, I would suspect that the announcement, like the official reveal, can't be too far away. Maybe that's a Game Awards reveal. All right, Kieran Buckley with a 5 super chat. Hi, Benji. How quickly do you see the Grand Theft Auto trilogy selling 10 million units and its lifetime sales? Also, how do you feel on the new graphics? 10 million is going to get crushed like instantly. Like, honestly, by the end of the year, I wouldn't even be surprised. This launches in November. I mean, well, 10 million by the end of the year might be tough. It's going to be very quick. Very, very, very quick. We're going to have to see exactly. You know, these games are older, so it's somewhat difficult to have like an exact expectation on how this is going to sell. In terms of the graphics, I actually think that they look great for what it is. You know, this doesn't look like Grand Theft Auto 6. It's not the visual level of like Grand Theft Auto 5. But I never expected that. Like, if you wanted to truly like remake these games, it would be an enormous undertaking to do all three at once. You know, keep in mind, these games are much smaller than modern Grand Theft Autos in terms of just like the amount of detail in the worlds and like even how big the maps are. So it wouldn't be as much work as making Grand Theft Auto 6. But if you did all three of them as true remakes, I mean, that would have taken a lot of freaking work. So I never expected this to look anything like, you know, those games. I think it looks good. I think they kept the feel of the art style. I feel like they modernized it enough that it doesn't look terrible to look at. There's gameplay enhancements. I mean, this is going to blow past 10 million, like so rapidly. It's available on like everything. You can get it on Xbox consoles, PlayStation consoles, PC, even the Switch. I expect this to do really good on Switch. So, yeah, put it this way. Would I be shocked if it does 10 million units by the end of the year? No, wouldn't surprise me. It's going to be very fast. Very fast, they're going to hit those 10 million units. So, yeah. And in terms of lifetime sales, that I honestly, truly have no idea. That one, it's like we're so early in the game on this. I kind of want to see how it sells up front before I start to go into lifetime sales. Because, you know, in your mind, you start to think of things like, wow, could this do 30 million? Could this do 40 million? You know, you start to do some big numbers in your head. Could this do 50 million? You know, who knows, right? We need to see upfront sales first and a little bit of legs before I start talking about lifetime. Just because, like, we start to play into some big ranges with Grand Theft Auto, right? We've seen how high it can go. Let's see how it launches. Let's see how that first couple months legs are. And then I think we'll start to have a better idea. But in terms of that first 10 million, dude, it's going to be so fast. They're going to annihilate 10 million quick. All right. I think we just had 2 more super chats drop. Yeah, we did. Yeah, 2 big ones. Timmer72299 with a 20. Holy cow, Timber. Thank you for the 20. That is super kind of you, man. Do you think we will get something when ZeniMax Europe issues their financial statements in December, now that they are owned by Microsoft? For the record, they stopped reporting game unit shipped numbers back in 2013. Oh, Timmer, I would love to see some unit figures, but I don't think so, just because Microsoft, as we know, is so secretive about putting raw numbers out there. Like, they, you know, I mean, on anything. The one number we can consistently somewhat get from Microsoft is total players. So maybe there's a slim chance that when they report those numbers that Microsoft allows them to post some player number updates. That is possible, but in terms of like raw unit sales, I think it's so unlikely, you know, because Microsoft doesn't tell us how many consoles they ship. They don't tell us how many units of games they actually sell. We haven't gotten a Game Pass, like an official Game Pass subscribers number update in a long time. You know, it was really back during the Xbox One disaster, right? Because it started falling off the cliff hard. That's when you saw Microsoft become very secretive about like hardcore data numbers. It was really all the way back then. You know, it's been years and years now that we've gotten like hardcore data. They used to be way more upfront about this kind of stuff during the Xbox 360 generation. Then things started really going downhill with Xbox One, and ever since then, they've been dead quiet. Like I said, except for they'll give you like some player numbers updates, but outside of that, not much. So Timmer, The only thing I could expect, maybe Microsoft and ZeniMax will put some new player numbers out there. Maybe they'll say something about, how many people played Deathloop or something like that. But I really don't think we're going to get like hardcore data out of them. It's a bummer, but I just don't expect it. Benji here with a 5 saying, hi, Benji. Sony numbers are impressive. Yes, they are. Great result for Sony. What is the most impressive stat? 62% digital, PS subs, any concerns? Missing shipment, game sales. So, Benji, thanks for the 5 super chat. Here's what I'll say. The most impressive thing for me is honestly that they're still over 13.4 million while being this supply constrained. That to me is the number that stands out. We know how freaking hard it is to make these consoles right now and how they're selling out like instantly. Yeah, is it a bit of a bummer that in terms of pure shipments, it's slightly behind PS4? Yeah, for sure, right? You never want to fall behind the predecessor, but we know sell-through's higher. I think even being able to manufacture 13.4 million is a really good result. And I would also say on top of that, yeah, the PS subs is really nice. It actually increased, right? PS subs is moving in the positive direction. It's at 47 million. I believe last quarter they were at 46. So, to see PS Plus subs increase, that's really good too. Digital is actually a little bit lower than it's been in some quarters, but still super high. So that also looks great. So tons of good stuff, right? There's tons of good stuff there. Here's what I would say, like maybe the most disappointing quote metric in this numbers update that came out of Sony would be the first party game sales. They were at 7.6 million, and that is actually the lowest they've been in over a year. So it's been over a year since Sony sold this few first party games. So that to me would be the one stat that you'd look at and kind of be like, that's not super impressive. But keep in mind, this last quarter, they didn't really have any big AAA launches over the last 3 months. So you can't really hold it against them that much, right? Those 7.6 million units sold during that quarter are mostly going to be legs of games, right? It's mostly going to be stuff like Miles Morales, Ghost of Tsushima, etc., right? That kind of stuff just still steadily selling. But if there was any number in that I look at and I'm just like, that didn't blow me away, it would definitely be the first party sales. Like I said, lowest in over a year. So that's never going to be something that screams at you as great, but it's not terrible either. Thank you for that super chat. Super chats are clear for now. So let me start diving into those free questions. Thanks so much, everyone, for all the super chats. Hamish Lee Ford. Hey, Benji, hope you're doing great. Thoughts on Halo Infinite campaign gameplay? Also loving The Banished and Asheram. I think that's how you say his name. I have no idea how to say it. Looks like 343 will nail this. Yeah, I think Halo Infinite looks absolutely awesome. You see a lot of conversation around the graphics, even still. And here's what I'll say. Does Halo Infinite to me look like the best visually looking game of all time? No, right? Not at all, right? That's one thing that you're going to still see people debate about. Oh, does this game look incredible? You have some people that are like all in, this is the best looking thing ever. And then you have some people saying it looks like trash. In terms of just like pure visuals, here's my thing. I think it just looks really solid now, right? Like I don't look at Halo Infinite anymore and think, wow, this looks ugly, which unfortunately that very first reveal, the lighting was so flat. Do you guys remember some of those screenshots that got put out from 343 that looked, they just did not look good. So now it just looks really solid from a visual standpoint. I'm not like blown away with the visuals, but they look solid, right? I look at Halo Infinite and I'm not like, wow, this looks ugly. Like the art style is spot on. It feels like a modern evolution of Halo. So visuals now, they're just in a really solid spot, which is really all it needs to be. I don't feel like Halo Infinite necessarily has to be, the most boundary pushing visuals game ever. As long as it looks good, that's good enough. So visuals, I'm very satisfied where it's at now. Not the best looking game I've ever seen, but really solid. But gameplay looks awesome. This game looks like it's going to be so much fun to play. I loved the tech tests, right? I was really open about that, which for me means something because keep in mind, I've always loved Halo, right? I have never been secretive about that. At one point, Halo was my favorite franchise of all time in gaming. During those like Halo 2, Halo 3, and then up to about Halo Reach days. Like during that time frame, I loved Halo. It was literally my favorite gaming series. But then for me, Halo 4 and 5 really fell off. Especially, I would say, multiplayer. I did not like Halo 4 and 5's multiplayer. So going into the tech test, I'm not going to lie, I was a bit nervous, right? 343 was a company that I know there's a lot of talent there, but to me, they hadn't nailed a Halo game yet. Not since the Bungie days. So I went into the tech test hoping for good things. But, I didn't really know where I was going to land on it, and I loved the tech test. The gameplay was so freaking good. So now seeing that the campaign looks like it's in a solid spot, I already know the gameplay is there. I'm feeling good. Yeah, feeling really good about Halo Infinite. Really, really good about it. Oh, I think we just had a super chat. Kellegrim with another big super chat. Holy cow, Kellegrim. Dude, you are amazing. It is great to see you, buddy. You don't have to always drop such big super chats, but thank you so much, Kellegrim. Thank you so much. Kellegrim with the 20. Sup, Benji? To piggyback off the last super chat, does the supply issue help or hurt PS5 sales in the long run? Ooh, this is a great question. Lots of free publicity just for the retailer restocks has to help at least a little bit. So yeah, let's talk about kind of what we're seeing here with some of these supply issues. And I'm going to actually tie this into Xbox too, because there's a stat that's not really out there in the public too much that people are talking about that's really holding back Xbox sales. As solid as Xbox sales are right now, I'm going to tell you something that's kind of crazy here in just a minute, but give me just a second. First, let's talk, Kellegrim, about the PS5. So does the supply issue help or hurt PS5 sales in the long run? Here's the thing. I don't think it's going to hurt in the long run for a key reason. Here's a key reason. Xbox is also massively supply constrained, right? So there is, I would say, a risk early on in a generation. This becomes less of a risk later, but really early on in a generation. If Xbox had tons of stock, right? Like there was Series X's and there was Series S's everywhere, and PS5 just could not meet demand at all, you would start to worry, I think, if you're at Sony a little bit, that, hey, we can't put consoles on shelves, but our competition can. What if someone comes into a store, they want a new console, they can't get ours, but they see that Series X there? Is there a risk that they buy that Xbox? I would say yes, right? Now, is that going to be a massive amount of people? Are you going to lose millions of people to this? No. But if we were in a scenario like that, that's where it's a little bit more dangerous. But the problem is, or the good quote news for Sony is that their main competition, which is Xbox, is also massively supply constrained, especially on the Series X, right? So it's not going to be a scenario where you think you might be slightly losing some sales over to Xbox. Neither one of them can meet demand. Both these consoles are literally gone as soon as they hit store shelves. So it's kind of a wash, right? It's a bummer. I would say the bigger bummer is more just like software, to be honest. I think the main thing that's getting impacted right now is going to be software, particularly first-party games, because I think there is some evidence that some of these cross-generation games people are holding off on their PS4s to buy on PS5. I think we saw a little bit of that with Miles Morales, where, yeah, that game was available on PS4, but we've seen an extremely strong correlation between Miles Morales sales and PS5 restocks. So what that says to me when I see something like that is that means that some people that can access this game, they could buy it on their PS4. They want to play it on PS5. So you're seeing that big uptick on games like that when PS5s get big restocks. So I would say that would be the more concerning thing, not necessarily lifetime hardware sales of PS5, but maybe, you're not having as big of growth as you could on the first party stuff because of that transition phase. And, now that I think about it, we might have seen a little bit of evidence of that in those first party sales this last quarter. I mentioned how they were the lowest in over a year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there wasn't any really big launches, but also could some of those numbers be higher if the console sales were higher? I think there's a debate for that, but I don't think it's going to really hurt them in the long run. I think they're going to be okay. It's just going to take a while to really ramp this stuff up. And then Kellegrim with another super chat saying, yes, I do. That is all with another 20. Kellegrim, you're out of control, man. You're an amazing dude. Thank you so much, Skelegrim. I hope that answers your question, man. For that, you're an incredible dude, man. Thank you so much, Telegram. I hope you're doing well, buddy. All right, let's dive into some more free questions. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. The Big Load 25, Benji-Sales, do you think Microsoft / Xbox will do / need their own state of play / Nintendo Direct? Well, here's what I'd say. I would love to see it, especially with how many games are coming in the future from Xbox Studios. So you're starting to see some of this stuff leak out. You know, you're starting to see people like Jez post some of these stories. I've mentioned on these chats before that there is a lot of Xbox exclusives coming. Y'all, not a small amount, a lot. So my thing is as those first party really ramp up, I would like to see more common showcases from Microsoft. Now, you know, does that mean that they have to have a state of play or a Nintendo Direct, an exact equivalent? I don't know, but I would like to see some sort of video type, you know, package from Microsoft. I think if you could do about 4 times a year, maybe that sounds high, but once a quarter, I feel like is a good solid communication. Now, does that mean you need to show like giant, you know, segments of games every single quarter? You know, that's going to be hard to do. But could you do, I mean, look at the Nintendo Direct, look at State of Plays. They put some smaller projects in there as well. So if you just had at least one big game per quarter to show alongside a few other smaller games, you know, third-party games, deals like that, I'd love to see it. Yeah, I think that would be really great for communication with the fan base. I think it would keep solid engagement with the brand, you know, keep a lot of communication out there. So if I was inside Microsoft, right, and I was in the marketing space, which of course I'm not, and they have people that are way smarter, that are way better at this stuff than I am. But that's one thing I would kind of explore. Yeah, could we have a State of Play or Nintendo Direct kind of equivalent once a quarter, around there? You know, maybe you can't do it immediately. Maybe you can do 3 times, right? Maybe you can do it 3 times a year. Something like that, though, I would like to see, Bigelow. Yeah, I think it would be good. That would have been a lot harder to pull off last generation, where they had just way fewer studios, way less projects in the works. Like, I don't think it would have been realistic at all to do something like that during the Xbox One generation. But looking at, you know, how big their first party is now, plus all these third party deals they're making as well, I think you could do it. Yeah, I think you could do eventually, you know, like a show a quarter. And they don't, keep in mind, I'm not saying like an E3 level show every quarter. That's literally impossible. But we just saw this last State of Play Sony did, right? It was very small showing overall. I wouldn't want to go that small, but if you could do something around that and a little bit bigger once a quarter, good. Yeah, that's good in my book. Holy cow, I think we have just a bunch of super chats that just dropped. Holy cow, you guys are out of control. And I'm very thankful for it, but y'all are out of control. Thank you so much for the support. It's literally unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Matt Duffy here with a 20. Oh my goodness. Everyone throw Benji a 20. You guys do not have to do that, but I'm extraordinarily grateful. Also, could I get your predictions for some of the upcoming fights the next couple Saturdays? Yes, you can. Absolutely. I love talking fights. You know it, Matt. Kazmat, Makachev, Chandler are some of my picks. God bless my guy. Well, thank you so much, Matt. Thank you so much. For those of you that are just here for video game talk, don't worry. We're going to get right back to it. But I am literally just as passionate about MMA and combat sports as I am about video games. Matt threw me a 20. Let me get to these really quick. And then we'll start going right back to video games, y'all. But there is some amazing cards coming up, Matt. So here we go. Let me give you some of my picks from UFC 267, and then we'll do UFC 268, right? We'll do those 2 cards. And just the big fights. Don't worry, everyone. I'm not going to sit here forever. So Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira for the 205-pound UFC title. I'm going to pick Jan here. I think Glover is more dangerous than some people are expecting. Glover's ground game in particular, right? Glover has very underrated wrestling, and we all know his jiu-jitsu is amazing, and he's got heavy hands. So if he was able to get on top of Jan, I think that's really bad news for Jan, right? Really, really bad news. I could see him getting a TKO or submission if Glover could regularly get this to the mat. So he's dangerous, right? Even at his age, he's 41, still dangerous. But I'm still going to pick Jan here. I think Jan is just the more technical fighter on the feet. He has big, massive power. And I also think he's very, very intelligent fighter. He's got great fight IQ. We saw that in the Israel Adesanya fight. Izzy is a masterclass striker, and Jan did very well with him and even won that fight. So I'm going to pick Jan, but Glover is a sneaky dangerous for him. Co-main event, we've got Peter Yan versus Corey Sandhagen. I'm actually going to go Corey Sandhagen here. Peter Yan is really good, really dangerous. But I feel like Corey at his best is a monster. So I'm going to pick Corey, but this is a dangerous fight as well. It could easily go to Peter Yan. This fight to me is almost a coin flip. I think it's actually Peter Yan. But I'm going to go Corey Sandhagen. And then Makhachev versus Dan Hooker. I'm also going to go with Islam Makhachev. I'm rooting for Dan Hooker, to be honest with you, just because he's taking this fight on short notice. I really like Dan Hooker's personality, but Islam has seemed unstoppable just about. So I'm going to pick Makhachev in that as well. And then let me give you just the title fight picks for UFC 268. And then we're on to video game questions, everyone. So for 268, which is also coming up, Usman versus Covington. I have to go with Kamaru Usman. I think he's the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world right now. Colby, we can all discuss what we think about Colby's personality, but he is a great fighter. There's just no way around it. Colby Covington is a top-tier welterweight, but I do truly think Kamaru Usman is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. So I think that's going to be a tough fight. I do not think it's going to be easy for Usman, just like the first fight was an absolute war, but I am picking Kamaru there. That'd be a pretty big upset to me if Colby wins, as good as he is. Rose Namajunas versus Zhang Weili. You know what? I think that first fight didn't really tell us the true story. It was over so quick, which is, I think, kind of the main reason you're getting a rematch here. It was over so fast, so fast. First round, quick KO. I don't think we really saw the best of Weili, so I could see Weili actually winning here, but I am going to pick Rose. Rose is just so technical, so dangerous, and she's got power, right? So I'm going to pick Rose, but Weili is going to do, I think Weili's going to do way better than the first fight. And then the last MMA fight I'm going to pick here, guys, Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler. I think Chandler's going to win, and I think he's going to do it off of wrestling. So every second this fight's on the feet, it's either one could knock each other out, to be perfectly honest with you. Both have massive power. Both throw caution to the wind. Both guys, right, this fight seems like pure excitement on paper. They're actually very similar fighters. If it stays on the feet, though, I think Justin actually will knock Chandler out, just because I think Gaethje has a bit better chin than Chandler. I think Chandler actually hits harder than Gaethje, but if we had to just go chin for chin, I think Gaethje's chin's a little bit better than Chandler. But I am going to pick Chandler just because I think he's going to get this wrestling to the floor. And Gaethje does not have good ground game. Like, he's got good wrestling pedigree, but once you're on the mat, right, his jiu-jitsu, not very good. So those are my picks. Thanks for the question. Sorry for, just gaming fans for the long MMA answer, but I love MMA and I love talking about it. So thanks, Matt. Frostbite Slash here with a 10 super chat. When do you think Sony will formally reveal PSVR 2? And do you think any first-party studios are working on games? Yes, multiple. I know the specs haven't been revealed, but what price point do you... Give me just a sec. Sorry, stream died. Gotta love my internet, right? Okay, hopefully you guys can see me. Hopefully it's good. All right, everyone says it's back. Sorry about that. Gotta love my internet, right? Even on a wired connection, it still will just randomly drop out. Good old internet. All right, so we're back. I'm sorry about that, everyone. So let me hit, I hadn't even really started talking about Frostbite Slash's question whenever it dropped. Okay, so Frostbite Slash. And when I say very, very slim chance, I guess you could see PSVR 2 revealed late this year in December or something, but I don't think so. My hunch is we see PSVR 2 officially revealed next year. Definitely won't be later than that. Very, very slim chance they could do something at the end of the year, maybe even at the Game Awards. It's not unheard of, right? You saw Xbox Series X announced at the Game Awards. Again, do I expect that? No. My hunch would be that they save that for next year, but very slim chance, at the end of this year. But my guess, we see PSVR 2 officially revealed next year. Now, and probably early in the year, because I could see this launching next year, right? I could see it launching PSVR 2 probably holiday of next year. What price point do I expect? I mean, here's the thing. They can't go above $399 in my opinion and expect to sell a whole lot of them. The prime point is $299, but I don't know if they can come in that low. Here's what I'd say. $299 would be a dream price point. They will sell a lot of PSVR 2s at that price point. If they could get this out at $300, you're going to sell a lot. You're going to sell a lot of PSVR 2s. If it comes in at $399, you're still going to sell a bunch, but it does become a harder sell at that price tag, but it'll still do all right, okay? It's still going to do all right. But $299 would be the real sweet spot. We've seen Oculus have so much success at that price point, right? That would be the key if they could get there. If I had to predict, I think it will be $399. If it's higher than that, big mistake in my opinion. I think you're just going to really hurt your sales. If this thing comes out at $499, I mean, I don't know. I think you're going to really struggle. I just think you're going to struggle that high. I really do. Now, do I think there's going to be first-party studios working on games? Yes, multiple. One of the rumors that came out, and I think it was from Upload VR or somewhere else like that, was that Sony was really working with their first-party studios this time to get a lot of support on PSVR 2. Way more than PSVR 1. So I expect to see lots, to be honest, lots of first-party games that at least have a VR mode. Now, keep in mind, I've said this before on the chat, do I expect every PlayStation Studios game to have, you can play this game fully front to back in VR? No, I think that's unrealistic to expect. My guess, though, is Sony is going to have, at least try for most of their studios to have like an experience in VR with an IP, right? I mean, how cool would it be to have some kind of Ghost of Tsushima VR, some kind of Horizon VR, some kind of Uncharted VR. I mean, these would be amazing, right? Even if you can't have a whole game, if you could have some kind of few hours experience, right? A 2 or 3 hour type thing, just to feel what it's like being in that world as part of the package of these games. I feel like that would be awesome. I feel like it would really attract VR adoption. So I do. I think you're going to see a lot of first party stuff this time around. All right. Timmer with a 2 super chat. Timmer72299. Do you think a Yu-Gi-Oh MMO could work? Oh, that's a great question. I don't know how popular the Yu-Gi-Oh IP still is. I think there's probably definitely still some people that play Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's not like Pokemon where it's been able to really keep up, even the card game massive demand. MMO I think would be a bit tough. But I do think it would be cool to see a new Yu-Gi-Oh game. There's not a ton of card games out there, and the ones that have been a lot of them, the good ones have been super popular, right? You look at things like, here's my thing, just to spin this off, I think there needs to be a new Pokemon card game, if that makes sense. I loved that RPG that was on, I believe, the Game Boy Color? Might have even been original Game Boy, I can't remember, maybe it was Game Boy Advance. They made an RPG that was like a Pokemon RPG, but it was the card game, and I freaking loved that as a kid. I would love to see another one of those Pokemon games, and a Yu-Gi-Oh RPG type card game I think actually could work. I don't know about an MMO, but yeah, I know there was a Yu-Gi-Oh game not that long ago, but I think it could work. I just don't know about MMO, but definitely a game. Benji with a 10 super chat. My goodness, the super chats are just off the chain today. It's ridiculous. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much. And for anyone that wonders what these super chats go to, if you've never been part of my chat before, I don't spend this, all of my super chats, literally all of it, every single dollar that you put in, it all goes to game stuff for me, right? I don't use it on random stuff. I don't use it to go to fast food places and spend your money that you're giving me on that. It literally all goes to my games and game coverage. So whether that's buying games so that way I can tweet about them, cover them, let you know my thoughts on them, whether it's buying consoles, controllers, all that, all of it gets funneled into gaming. All of it goes straight back into gaming. So it helps my coverage, to be honest. I wouldn't be able to buy as many games as I do if it wasn't for you guys. So that's what all of your, any dollar you're giving, that's what it's going to. It's not going to just random stuff. So Benji with a 10. Will Sony have enough PS5s in February to secure record-breaking sales for Forbidden West? Yes, the game is cross-gen, but seems gamers not buying as much on last-gen consoles. It's a fantastic question, Benji. I agree. I mentioned earlier that it does appear that, is PS4 still selling software? Yes, but I think we do have lots of evidence across multiple games that, it's not near as strong as it is, for example, on PS5, particularly in the West. This is a different situation in Japan, actually. Japan, PS4 is still selling more software than PS5, even on the new games, right? And of course, I would say even in the West, probably legacy software, PS4 is selling more than PS5 just in the grand total of things. But for new releases, we've seen like with Hitman, we've seen with Spider-Man Miles Morales, etc. Multiple cross-gen games have sold more on PS5 than PS4. So it does make you wonder, right? Horizon, how much of that's really going to sell on PS4? I suspect, Benji, to answer your question, enough. I do think that we're going to look at a record-breaking or close to record-breaking launch for Forbidden West. I'm definitely expecting over 3 million in 3 days. That's kind of like the really high barometer for PlayStation exclusives. We've only seen one go higher than that, and that was The Last of Us Part 2 that hit 4 million. But if you look at God of War, if you look at Spider-Man, they're in that 3+ million range for 3 days. I really do think Horizon's going to get there. Keep in mind, it's at 13.4 million PS5s now. That's going to be much higher by the time we hit February, much higher. We have a holiday quarter ahead of us, so it's going to be a lot higher by the time we hit February. And it is still going to sell some on PS4. I do actually expect more to sell on PS5 than PS4, but here's what I'll say, Benji. I definitely think over 3 million for Horizon Forbidden West in 3 days. Can it get to 4+ million, right? Can it beat The Last of Us? That I'm just not 100% sure on. We're going to have to see. But I do think it can hit 3+ million, yes. I really am confident in that. Really, really confident. I'd be surprised. If it's under that, I'd be surprised. Okay, I think Super Chats are clear. All right, we're clear. Thank you, everyone. That was a ridiculous barrage of Super Chats. You all are incredible today. Let's hit more of those free questions. The Deadly 8. Hello there, Benji. Hope you're having a good day. I am. I'm having a good day. My question for you today is, do you think it is possible that PlayStation will keep expanding their teams in order to release at least 2 AAA games a year? So it depends what you mean. If you mean like PlayStation at large, will PlayStation, the brand, have at least 2 AAA games a year? Yeah, and I think they'll go over that, right? We're kind of already seeing that next year where they're going to have, we know for sure, 3, right? But keep in mind, this year, really, for AAA games, like for this year, we had Ratchet, and Returnal kind of is AAA. I mean, I guess you could count that, but yeah, this year we probably really only had 2 AAA games from Sony, right? Returnal and Ratchet. I think so. But keep in mind, that was with the pandemic delays, right? There was supposed to be more. Next year, at minimum, we know for a fact we're getting 3 AAA games from Sony first party, right? We know we're getting God of War, we know we're getting Gran Turismo 7, and we know we're getting Horizon Forbidden West. So can they, at least 2 AAA for sure? I would expect that Sony's probably going to get to the spot, in this generation where they're having 3 AAA or more a year. I would think so. I think they can at least hit 3 AAAs a year because they keep expanding, right? Sony has bought multiple teams. They've bought multiple, like 4 or 5 this year alone already. They've staffed up teams. So 2, I would say, would be the minimum expectation from Sony, but I actually think that a lot of years they're going to hit 3 or more. Yeah. I don't know if you hit like 4. That might be a little tough, but at least 3. At least 3 from Sony per year, I think, yeah, for most of this generation. Miles Morales. Hi, do you think next year PS5 supplies will increase more than this? Yes. Could we see PS5s on store next year? Ooh, or is that too soon to happen? I know there's chip shortages, but I am wondering if it can happen. I don't expect you to see PS5s on store shelves next year. Or if you do, it's not until pretty deep into the year. I expect PS5 to be completely sold out at least through the summer. That's what everything that AMD have stated, that even Sony and Microsoft have talked about. They're still expecting shortages deep into next year. Could we hit a scenario by next fall that you maybe see some PS5s on store shelves? I'm not going to rule that out, but put it this way. That first all the way through summer, it's going to be sold out. It's just going to be sold out. So I do expect production to increase. It is going to get better next year, but they're still not going to meet demand. And if they do, it won't be until deep into the year. Tom here. Hello, mate. Stopping by from the UK. What is up to the UK? What is up, Tom? What's your thoughts on In Exile's rumored steampunk RPG? I think it's a genre we haven't seen much of in AAA and would love to see that what can be done with it. Yeah, very cool. Not a lot of steampunk games in general, right? Pretty underrepresented genre. We know Microsoft's all in on RPGs. I mean, all in. We've talked about this before. They have the Elder Scrolls 6 coming up. They've got Starfield coming up. They've got this In Exile RPG coming up. They've got the Outer Worlds 2 coming up. We've got that Avowed coming up. I mean, that's at least 5 RPGs right there. Microsoft is becoming a Western RPG powerhouse. So I'm excited for it. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be really good. And I'll tell you what, Xbox players are not going to be hurting for RPGs this gen. You're going to be loaded in RPGs. So I'm looking forward to it, Tom. I thought Wasteland 3 was incredible. I never finished Wasteland 3, but when I played of it, it was awesome. So a lot of talent there. A lot of talent in that studio. Hamish Lee Ford. Thoughts on PlayStation PC? If we judge from the huge NVIDIA leaks, which, by the way, continues to be proven real. I told you guys that was real. Huge NVIDIA leaks, Horizon Forbidden West and GT7 PC ports are already in development. Yeah, here's the reality. You know, everything on PlayStation is coming to PC at some point, for the most part. Might there be some few exceptions here and there? I'm not going to rule out a few, but I mean, almost everything Sony's coming to PlayStation. Almost everything PlayStation's coming to PC. Again, we can have a big debate about how quickly those games hit. I am still of the opinion that outside of big multiplayer games, that ain't happening day one for quite a while still, in my opinion. I really think Sony's going to continue to have this at least a year delay between their games hitting console and PC, because I really think they want that console to remain attractive, even though I don't think there's like a huge amount of lost consoles sold launching on PC, but I think Sony doesn't agree. I don't think you're going to see day one for their story-heavy games for some time. But is Horizon Forbidden West going to come to PC? Yeah. Is Gran Turismo 7? Yeah. You know, they all are. Just about everything. I don't know if you guys have seen, but it looks like that Sackboy Big Adventure is coming very soon. It's listed now on Steam under its code name. You know, it's coming. And that game's not that old, right? If that game comes out by early next year, that's a year, right? It's only a year. So, yeah, basically everything PlayStation's coming to PC. Basically everything. And basically that entire NVIDIA leak is real. So it's coming. Smart, right? It's smart for Sony. Here's the thing. I was just on their conference call last night. You know what? You want to know what they said? Not many people are covering this. I thought about tweeting about it, but I was like, I don't know if enough people will care to hear this or not. So when I was on that conference call last night, whenever they showed the splash screen and they were talking about how they're staffing up, right? And they were talking about how they're expanding their first party. They showed a slide that had Firestrike and Bluepoint on it. And you know what they said? They said, we continue to grow our first party and to increase our resources onto PC, basically. That's kind of like a bit of a, I'm quoting off the top of my head, but they literally said like part of the reason they're staffing up is for more PC games. So like it's all going to PC, everything. Makes sense, right? There's too much money on the table to not. King Lizards. NetherRealm usually release a game every 2 years, but lately they broke that cycle. Do you think their next game will be a 2023 title instead of 2022 because of WB Multiverse possibly releases in 2022? You know, I would have never expected this, King Lizards, but we really might not get the next NetherRealm game until 2023. NetherRealm just said recently, this was only a few months ago, that they just now transitioned to fully working on their next game. I'm sure it was obviously in pre-production before then, but they weren't like all hands on deck apparently until recently on their next fighter. So if that's accurate, then it'd be kind of hard to believe that they're going to get a game out in 2022. Not impossible. NetherRealm works really fast. But it could be 2023, honestly. I'm not going to say it's a lock, but it could be. It could be. With that news, and plus this Brawler coming out next year, plus honestly how stacked next year is for WB in general. You know, they've got Gotham Knights, they've got Suicide Squad, they've got the Harry Potter game. It might. Yeah, it could slip to 2023. It really might. Venom Harness. Hello there. What's your thoughts on PlayStation securing third-party games, aka making them exclusive for a year or two? I feel it is a bad move and a waste of money. It is unfair, don't you agree? Well, here's what I'll say. Xbox is doing the same thing. There's a lot of third-party games coming that are exclusive to Xbox as well. You're already seeing Jez start to talk about some of them. So, depends on how you look at it, right? Is it unfair? I mean, here's the thing. It's smart business strategy, first of all. As much exclusive content as you can get on your platform is smart, right? As much as you can get, whether that's from your first party, whether it's from a third party deal, etc. Now, what I like to see more of, and this is just looking at it from a consumer's perspective, because to me, I'll be honest, it doesn't impact me as I buy every console. I've never been in a scenario where I think, oh man, I'm bummed this game's exclusive on a platform, now I can't play it. I'll just buy it on that platform. Like every single generation, and since I've been able to get a job, right? So after basically once I hit my teenage years, I bought every console. I bought every Nintendo console, every Xbox console, and every PlayStation. So for me, and I know not near everyone's like this, but for me, I literally don't care when these games go exclusive, even if they're normally multi-platform, because I'm going to be able to play it either way. However, it does suck for people that stick to one platform, right? Not everyone can go out and buy every console. I completely understand that. Not everyone has the resources to do that. So it's a bummer. What I like to see more of is when it's a new IP that's being funded as being exclusive, because then you're not necessarily missing out in terms of a franchise that was normally multi-platform. Like I didn't love when Microsoft made Tomb Raider exclusive to Xbox, right? That to me didn't feel great, especially with how strong of a pedigree PlayStation has with Tomb Raider. Do I love that Final Fantasy 16 is a PlayStation exclusive? No, right? It would be very cool if Xbox players could play that as well. But it's just smart business. You're going to sell consoles based off of that. And here's the thing. Like I said, I don't think you can really attack Sony over it, because I'm telling y'all there are like multiple third-party Xbox publishing deals that are coming down the pipeline that are funded and exclusive to Xbox. So it's a very strong industry-wide thing right now. So it's just bound to happen. But I would say on a personal perspective, I do like it more when it's a new IP than making a traditionally multi-platform game exclusive. That's the part where I don't love. I think acquisitions are different, right? If you go out and you buy that studio, that to me is different than when you take a multi-platform game and just make it just exclusive on your platform. I don't love it, but I don't super hate it either. I understand why it happens. Yoda Soda. Hey there, do you think it is possible that in the future, Warner Brothers might license out their franchises to other studios, or do you think they like to make games in-house instead? Hard to tell, Yoda Soda. We're going to have to see what happens with this Warner Brothers Discovery deal, this merger. It's still not finalized, right? Like, it's still not done. Like, it's happened, and it's going to happen here soon. Like, it's going to be finalized, but it's still, like, being hashed out and worked out. I don't think we still have all the final answers of what's going to happen with WB. So I don't know. Could they start licensing some out? I would say it's definitely a possibility. But it's hard to say. The future of WB is very hard to say. Very hard to say with this Warner Brothers Discovery deal going down. We don't really know what all's still going to be potentially sold off, kept, how they're going to operate that business, because it's truly a different company. It's like a subsidiary, but they're basically creating a new company, and we don't exactly know how that company is going to run. So we'll have to watch. We'll have to wait and see. All right, no super chats. Batman Forever. I'm wondering, do you think the consolidation in both the gaming and film industry good for consumers, or does it hurt them? I feel it makes less variety, which hurts the consumers. How about you? Depends. In some ways, consolidation actually is good. So it depends, and that's going to sound super volatile because there's some bad too. There's some bad. Don't get me wrong, there's some bad to it. There's pros and cons to consolidation. What are the pros? Here's one pro. These companies get extremely rich, which I know on the surface sounds bad. The one plus side about an extremely rich company, let's look at Disney. You have a lot of money to spend on your content. So if you are a Disney fan, right, if you like Disney, one plus about Disney getting so much consolidation is they have massive amounts of resources that allows them to create tons of blockbusters and now tons of Disney Plus shows. So you are getting a ton of content from this company. So that's one plus. And the same thing is true in video games. These companies get richer, which again, I know this is super volatile to say, especially whenever we're in a scenario where right now the middle class is like, falling apart in a lot of ways. Keep in mind, y'all, I'm one of you. I am broke, right? Like, that's why these super chats are so awesome, is because they help fund my gaming hobby. Because y'all, I'm an entry-level retail worker. I'm in my 30s and I'm an entry-level retail worker. So I ain't rich. So believe me, I'm not speaking about this from a wealthy person's perspective. But it allows these companies to have a ton of capital, a ton of money to spend, and that creates, in a lot of ways, a better product for the consumer. So that's what one area I would say is a net benefit to consumers with these companies getting huge. Now the downside, right? The bad part for consumers. A couple things, right? Whenever you have a company that's so in control of the industry, right? When you only have a few players that have that kind of money I'm talking about, the risk, and I'm not saying this is a guarantee, but the risk is that it very well could make them more risk averse, which also means that the potential is there that they experiment less, right? That there's less funding on smaller games, or that there's less funding on more experimental projects, or, not games or movies or anything that's a little bit riskier, because they're so focused on just generating that profit, generating that revenue, which of course everyone is, but you can be a little bit more experimental on lower budget stuff, right? You really see that in the indie space, right? A lot of indie games are out there doing interesting, weird, different things than your AAA games are. Like, there's no debate, right? Now, AAA games don't get experimental, but if you compare the indie space and you compare the AAA, I would definitely say there's a lot more experimentation and messing around with different types of characters and worlds and ideas in that space than there is in the big AAA. So it's a pro and con. There's pros and there's cons to it. You also run into a danger that if, one or two of these companies start to struggle and fall apart, how does that impact the industry at large? Because they are in charge of so much of the industry themselves. So there's tons of risk. There's pros, there's cons. It's a bit messy, to be honest. Now, true monopoly, that's nothing but bad. So a true monopoly scenario, if we get down to like one or two companies owning everything, that is purely bad. But like big consolidation down to like 5 or 6 massive players, you get a little bit of both. Brandon. Hi, Benji. Any sales updates on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart? No. Yeah, no sales updates from Sony on that. I will say it hasn't looked like the leggiest game I've ever seen from Sony. But I think it's probably still doing solid business. It hasn't been as leggy as something like Spider-Man or even Ghost of Tsushima. So it doesn't have the best legs at just looking at charts that I've ever seen from Sony. But at the same time, I don't think it's doing terrible at all, especially considering this is a PS5 only game. I would describe it solid, right? Solid. But no sales updates. No sales updates. It's got to be a few million, right? This game hasn't gotten over 5 million. I'm pretty darn confident in that, judging by how its launch sales were. But, it's done a few million for sure. Maybe like 3 million, something like that. But this is just a guess. We have not seen more detailed numbers. 3, 4 million. I could even see the 4 million range, maybe. I don't think it's over 5, though. I think we just had a super chat drop. Let me hit that super chat. Benji with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much. Benji, did COVID kill the $1 billion movie at the box office? Oh, we're about to find out. $1 billion regulars as Bond and Fast failed. Can No Way Home and Batman do it? Well, here's the thing. Bond's actually doing extremely well, and so did Fast, but I get what you're saying. They failed to hit that billion mark, right? Fast still did huge. It was over 700 million global, and Bond is on its way also to be, once it hits China as well, that's probably going to also do honestly, it could do 700 million if it does really well in China on top of that. So movies can still do massive, but I know what you mean, right? Those are two that pre-pandemic you would think are probably $1 billion films. Benji, to me, we will find out with Spider-Man. We will find out with Spider-Man. If there's literally any movie that's going to do $1 billion at the box office right now, like this time period, it is Spider-Man No Way Home. Period. That's the movie. If Spider-Man No Way Home doesn't hit $1 billion, I would say that the pandemic has killed the $1 billion for now. I don't necessarily know that it means we never see $1 billion movie again. In fact, Fast and Bond are going to get close enough, over 700 million for sure for Fast. Like I said, Bond has a strong chance of 700 million too. You're not that far away from $1 billion. You're 300 million away. So I think $1 billion still can happen. But if Spider-Man No Way Home doesn't do $1 billion, I think we're going to hit a scenario where it becomes very hard to hit $1 billion, right? Not impossible. A few movies could potentially pull it off. But we were starting to get to a spot pre-pandemic that billions were kind of becoming common. I know that sounds crazy, but it wasn't that uncommon to see $1 billion movie. There was regularly $1 billion films happening per year. And we even started to see some films hit 2 billion range. So Spider-Man tells a lot. If Spider-Man hits $1 billion, we're looking good, right? We're cooking with gas. There's going to be more movies that hit $1 billion. If Spider-Man No Way Home misses it, only a few movies are going to be able to hit $1 billion. All right. Thanks for that super chat, Benji. How long have we been going? An hour. Holy cow, that hour flew by for me. I'm going to still keep going for another probably 30 minutes since we've had so many questions and it's been such a good chat. And there's still a literal ton here I haven't hit. Like a ton. I'm still up early in the free questions. So I'm still going to keep going for another 30 minutes. If you dropped a question into the free chat, don't worry. I'm still rocking for another 30. Yug Yang. Guardians of the Galaxy reviewed extremely well. Sales predictions. Could it reach Avengers number? If it is a massive success, will Square Enix double down or Marvel single player games? Yug Yang. Here's something I can actually say about this, and it's a bit disappointing for me. It's a bit of a bummer. I honestly hate to say this because I was hoping for good things. Guardians has not performed well on Steam. So let's see where it's at right now. Let me check. I've been keeping an eye on it every day, and it kind of breaks my heart to see this with how good the game apparently is. I'll get my copy tomorrow. Let me see something here. I'm going to check something for you because I've been keeping an eye on this. See where it's at. Okay. So the all-time peak right now for Guardians so far on Steam is a bit over 10,000 players. Avengers, which was seen as a bomb, 31,000. 3 times as many players as Guardians. Deathloop, which wasn't a huge seller, over 20,000. Double what Guardians has done. So I'm going to be honest with you. The Steam numbers are a little concerning for me. They're pretty darn low. Now there's a couple factors we can think about. First of all, could this game potentially being driven really heavily through consoles? You know, there's definitely a chance of that, right? Maybe this game's just not going to do all that well on Steam in the grand scheme of things, but it's going to move a ton of units on console. That is entirely possible. But I will say I'm a little worried. I never expected this game to be a huge success until those reviews started dropping and it looked really positive. I was hoping it would do well because I'm a big Marvel fan, right? Big Marvel fan. I was hoping that we would see more successes within Marvel. I kind of think, and I hate to say it, Guardians might be paying for the sins of Avengers a little bit, right? I think that Avengers kind of rubbing so many people wrong made them very cautious about Square Enix Marvel games. So here's what I'll say, Yog Yang. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Guardians, since it is being so well received, maybe it doesn't have an explosive launch, but maybe we see really good legs out of this game. I think that's kind of what we need to hope for right now, because at the very least on PC, I would describe Guardians as very disappointing. I mean, 10,000 concurrent's low. It's low, right? There's almost no way around that. 10,000 is not a great launch for a AAA game. We're talking half of Deathloop concurrent and 1/3 of Avengers. So not great. So hopefully legs are good. And maybe this game's overperforming on console, right? Very well could be. Maybe console is moving the bulk of these units. But PC's looking rough. Benji. Hi, Benji. Any thoughts on Resident Evil Village's sales? 5 million. In line with your expectations, how high will the game reach? Yeah, Village is doing great. Still the fastest selling Resident Evil game ever. I will say on a personal level, I actually thought Village wasn't as good as Resident Evil 7, and I know that's going to be super controversial. Some people think Village is like one of the best Resident Evils. I really liked Village, but I actually think Resident Evil 7 was better. Village had awesome graphics. It had a really cool setting, but I don't know. To me, it was way less scary overall than 7 was, and I really loved the horror elements of 7 and the Bakers. So I think 7's a better game than 8. But Village is doing well. 5 million for a Resident Evil game this quickly is very good. How high will it reach? Eventually 10 million. You know, we just saw Resident Evil 7 hit 10 million. Village is going to hit 10 million eventually as well. You know, it's going to need some sales. It's going to take some time to get there, just like Resident Evil 7 did. But Village will eventually go over 10 million. I don't think it'll do much over that. I don't think you're going to see 15 or 20 million out of Village, but I think it'll get over 10. Over 10. The Deadly 8. If the next generation Switch truly isn't backwards compatible with Switch 2018, oh, that'd be bad. Does this negatively impact the sales potential of it? Is it not too risky to have no backwards compatibility? That would be really bad, in my opinion, Deadly 8. Would it truly impact Switch sales? I would say probably not, as long as the price point's right on Switch 2, as long as the games are right on Switch 2, you know, but this would be super lame. I know that's a funny way to phrase it, but the Switch has such a strong library. People, I feel like, have invested heavily into that Switch library. You look at how strong first-party sales have been on Switch. I mean, astronomical. put it this way, Nintendo is putting both Sony and Microsoft to shame this generation when it comes to first-party sales. As strong as PlayStation's been, as strong as Xbox is now headed in, I mean, Nintendo is levels beyond both of them in first-party game sales. It's just the facts. They just are. So we've seen a few jump really high on PlayStation. Lots of growth this gen. So when I say putting to shame, I don't mean Sony and Microsoft should feel bad about their performances. I just mean Nintendo's truly a different level when it comes to first-party sales. So people have spent so much money investing into that ecosystem. It'd be really crappy, right? It'd be really lame if it's not backwards compatible. I'm still going to assume it is, and hopefully it is. King Lizards, how many years do you think the Nintendo Switch has left for its support for first and third-party games if the Switch 2 releases in 2023? Could it be end of 2022 or until 2024? Oh, so if the Switch successor releases in 2023, which I do think is possible, it's going to be 2023 or 2024. It's going to be one of those years. I really don't see it later than 2024. I really, really, really don't. Even as successful as Switch has been, I cannot see them pushing it later than 2024. You're going to still see third-party support, especially from Japanese companies, for the Switch 1 for years to come. Years to come. You're not going to see, even with a successor on the market, put it this way, if it launches in 2023, I wouldn't expect you see, some Japanese games, they'll probably release on that thing till 2025. If it's 2024, an additional 2 years past that. A long time. Now, Western companies, that's going to dry up a lot quicker. But Japanese support, this thing has been such a colossal success in Japan. Years. Switch will still get games for years from Japan out, even once Switch 2 is released. Sounds PP7. According to Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed Infinity will not be free to play. Good, thank God. And I don't hate all free to play games, but I've been honest here. I'm very worried about Ubisoft. What do you think it'll end up being? And could it be closer to a traditional Assassin's Creed game than we think? Sounds PP7. My expectation for Infinity, from what it's described as, is a massive hub game where you're going to go on different campaigns and different settings through time with potentially different assassins. So I think you're going to buy a boxed game, right? Like I said, it's not free to play. You're going to buy a game, and it's going to have a story and a big thing with it. But I think they're going to have massive expansions on top of it that you could almost think of as a new game every year or two, right? They said on the conference call today that they're going to launch basically new quote Assassin's Creed content every year from now on. Does that mean a new game every year? No. We know Infinity, the goal is to be supported for years on end. But I think you're going to get a new giant expansion to Infinity every year that you could almost think of as a new game, right? But it's just part of Infinity. That's my expectation. And there'll be new settings, potentially new assassins, new time periods for each chunk, right? Big. But not like, when I say big, I mean not a traditional DLC size like for Assassin's Creed where it's a small DLC. I'm talking huge, right? Giant expansions to this thing. Dangerman1337. If Age of Empire 4 does take off, RTS revival potentially. Well, Age of Empires, a lot of people don't realize, that franchise never died. I think it was just last year or the year before, it was still doing 1 million monthly players. Like 1 million people are still playing Age of Empires a month. So, and you still see some, like the Total War series that are huge. So RTSs, is there tons of new RTSs nowadays? No. But, Age of Empires 4 is doing great. Anyone that missed it, it set a new all-time concurrent record today on Steam for the franchise. So, really good. Age of Empires 4 is doing great. It's, let's see. Yeah, it's over 54,000 right now, concurrent players. So, good. Looking good. Looking very good. Will it revive RTSs like as a genre as a whole? I don't know about that. But it's very safe to say that Age of Empires ain't going anywhere. That's going to get an Age of Empires 5, etc. Ghost Tunnels. Do you think Ubisoft will make a free-to-play Assassin's Creed game in the near future? Yes. I think they will make a free-to-play game of every franchise they own. I really do. Every single franchise they own that has any kind of like franchise potential in the past, right? That's like a successful franchise for them. I think so, yeah. Yep, I do think so. I don't think Infinity is going to be. They confirmed that, but will there be some kind of free-to-play Assassin's Creed? Yep. I'd be shocked if they don't. I think there's going to be free-to-play Far Cry. I think they're going to do all of it. The only way I think Ubisoft doesn't free-to-play basically every franchise they own, like I said, even as an additional thing, not necessarily like every single entry, is if they get massive blowback and these games fail, right? If Heartlands comes out and it bombs, if the Ghost Recon, I can't even remember the name of it, Battle Royale bombs, if X Defiant bombs, maybe they start to slow down. But for now, I expect them to try to free-to-play every franchise they have, judging by their current trajectory. All right. I'm going to be picky for these last 15 or 20 minutes just because we still have tons of questions in chat. So I'm going to kind of super speed them. I think we just had a super chat. Let me hit that super chat. Holy cow. Dangerman saying, I don't think Age of Empires 5 will come out for a long time. Oh, I agree. Long time. Long time. Age of Empires 4 will get expansions and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Age of Empires 5 is a long way away, but it'll happen for sure. Highlander001 with a 5 super chat. I'm testing GeForce Now on my Series X. I am loving it. Think this will move units and see PlayStation allowing this on PS5. Highlander, I have a terrible answer for you, and that is that I've done like almost zero research into this whole GeForce Now thing on Series X. I know it's a thing. I haven't experimented with it. I don't know how well it works. I don't know how many games work. I don't know. I mean, I hate to say it, but like I've done no research into this. So do I think that on its own will move units? No, honestly. I don't think people will buy a Series X just because of this, but I think it could be a very cool thing, an additional nice, thing to have on your console. Do I see PlayStation allowing this on PS5? No. Could be wrong there, but as of now, no. Maybe in the future, but as of now, no. And I don't necessarily think it's the kind of thing that will sell Series X's, but it's a nice additional feature. That's the way I would describe it. Like a nice bonus. Nice bonus. Holy cow. Kellegrim here with another 10. Holy cow. Kellegrim, bro. Jesus. When do we see the next Monster Hunter World? Ooh, next year, I think. Next-gen consoles seem like a great fit for the next high-fidelity Monster Hunter game. Have a great day. Well, Kellegrim, thank you so much again, man, for being so awesome. When will they announce the next Monster Hunter? Well, it leaked when the game's supposed to come out. I think it's supposed to come out in 2023. So back when Capcom had that massive leak, that game, I believe, unless I'm remembering wrong, was internally projected to come out 2023. So we do know, though, that some games have been delayed or canceled since that leak. But I think you probably see it announced next year at the end of the year. I don't think early in the year, because let's say that game is still coming out 2023. Next year, probably late next year, you see that game announced with a 2023 launch, unless it's been delayed because of COVID. If the pandemic delayed it, to 2024, you won't see it next year. They won't announce it until 2023. But as long as everything is still on schedule, you're going to see it announced next year with a 2023 launch. Would be my expectation for that. That would be my expectation. Like I said, as long as it wasn't delayed. And it'll be huge. Huge game. Huge game. All right, let's blast some more questions. Thanks for an amazing chat, everyone. Thank you so much. Sam Jack, Xbox is not done buying studios. How many more publishers do you see them buying? One more or three more or independent studios instead? Well, one thing I've said is that I do expect, at least during this consolidation phase, at least one more publisher to be acquired. So Does that mean it'll be Microsoft buying them? Does that mean it'll be Activision? Does that mean it'll be Sony? Does that mean it'll be, EA? Who knows? I do think we see one more publisher get acquired before this is all said and done. Who's going to get bought? I don't know. Will Microsoft themselves buy another publisher? They already bought Bethesda. I won't say it's impossible, but I don't know. Microsoft buying another publisher to me seems probably not going to happen. But someone's going to buy somebody, right? In this consolidation phase, there's too much money to be had. There's too much money to throw around. Somebody's going to buy somebody, I think, publisher-wise. But I'm not sure. In terms of studios, though, do I think Microsoft will buy 3 or more studios? Yes. Yep, 3 or more studios still. Yeah. 3 or more studios. Yep. So publishers, I don't know. Studios, 3 or more, yes. Randy Newman. Hey, Benji, with all these Xbox leaks from Jez and Jeff, why do you think Xbox didn't reveal any of these games at E3? You think they're waiting for Halo to come out? Well, a lot of these are really early, and a lot of these probably just aren't ready to show. And also, whenever you're doing marketing, you have to stagger announcements because you don't want to announce everything at once and then have nothing to show for like a year, right? That's one issue you run into when you have like a crazy showcase, like a crazy where you're just like show everything. The problem you run into with that is you might go a full year without having something else new to show. And we've seen in the past how aggravated fan bases can be when they have to wait really long times to see new info. You kind of saw this with the PlayStation community kind of last year. There was a big chunk where Sony didn't show much because I think the pandemic delayed a lot of their announcements. So I think it's just a combo, that two combo, right? One of them, some of these projects are still really early. They probably just don't want to show too much of those games yet. And B, they wanted to more stagger out announcements so they can keep a steady showing of stuff throughout the year. That would be my guess. Logan Hardy, hey Benji, do you think Horizon Forbidden West will crack 90 plus on meta? It's going to be tough, Logan, just because it's become a huge challenge to break that 90 plus barrier. We still don't have a AAA game. I think there might have been some indies, but we haven't had a AAA game break 90 plus on meta all this year. That to me is pretty wild. Not often you see that. We've had a bunch of games in that high 80s range, but it's become a big challenge. Like reviewers are making it harder to break 90 plus, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, right? I don't think every game should necessarily get a 90 plus Metacritic. I'm just saying it's definitely become more challenging. It's definitely, no doubt about it. Like I said, we might, and we need to see how Forza Horizon, I would say that's probably the last game this year with a strong chance of breaking 90 plus. But if that doesn't do it, we might go a full year without a single AAA game breaking 90 plus meta. That is wild. So do I think it's possible? Do I think Forbidden West could do it? Yes. I loved Zero Dawn. I expect Forbidden West to be better. And Zero Dawn already had a great 80s, high 80s Metacritic. So it's possible, but it's becoming harder and harder. So it's in the running, but I wouldn't say it's a lock. Wouldn't say it's a lock. We need to see how Forza Horizon 5 does too. Yeah, because that one also, right? Who knows? Who knows if that'll do it? What's up, JCat? JCat's in the chat. What is up, JCat? Forzathon is back. Benji, sorry I haven't been able to attend live chats in a while. Yeah, it's been a while, Forzathon. Great to see you. Been busy with college. I hope college is going awesome for you. Hope you're doing awesome. I'm doing great. Much better mental health than I was. A couple weeks ago was rough. I'm in a good spot right now. Play Visage on Game Pass, by the way. Great PT-like horror game, and I know you love horror. Guess what, Forzathon? I have it installed. I haven't played Visage yet. got it installed. I've had a ton of recommendations for it for people that know I love horror games. I've heard great things. So I've got it installed through Game Pass, and I am planning on playing that soon, very soon. All right. All right. Just a few more, and we're out. But there's so many. There are so many questions. I'm going to try and hit as many as I can. Wow, lots of comments, so I might not have too many questions. Let's see. Oh, Jose Contreras. The rumored Wu-Tang game can be a game changer for Xbox exclusive in the hip-hop community. Yeah, this one's really interesting. So, for me, the Wu-Tang game, and there's a lot of hip-hop that I like. I just never got super into that, but I am seeing a ton of buzz over it. So, Jose, you are spot on. This was a game that, whenever it first started leaking out, I think it's called, Shaolin something. I can't remember from the rumor. I was just I kind of just noticed it, and I was just like, oh, yeah, that's interesting, right? It's not something you would traditionally expect. And I was just like, huh, okay, that's kind of interesting. I didn't think too much about it. And then I saw, how much conversation it was generating. Yeah, that is going to be very interesting, Jose, to see how that game does. It definitely has potential. I'm seeing a lot of people get excited over that. And I didn't really expect that level of interest. So, Jose, you're right. It could be big. That game could be a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be when I very first saw the rumor. First thought, I was like, oh, interesting. Could be cool. But, it wasn't one of those games that, instantly 10 out of 10 hyped me. And then I saw how excited people were. That could be a surprising game. Chris Jenkins, how many Dune movies do we get? Does HBO do a series to finish the books out? I think we're going to get at least 3. Denis Villeneuve said he wants to do at least 3. I think we get at least 3 and definitely some HBO Max shows. Yeah, at least one HBO Max show. So it seems WB and Legendary are all in and investing on Dune. I think we get at least 3 movies, potentially more, but at minimum 3. And definitely 1 or 2 HBO Max series as well on top of it. I do think so, Chris. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to get through questions. I'm going through. Right before we wrap this stream up. AK01KA. Benji-Sales, 25 million Game Pass subs end of this year, yes or no? Absolutely. They will definitely pass 25 million. The question is if they can get to 30, right? It appears they were at low 20s in June, right? So they were already not far away from 25 million subs. We don't know that exact number. It's over 20, but put it this way, it wasn't 25. We just know it was over 20. Could have been 20, 21, maybe 22 at highest, but it wasn't really past that. It was low 20s as of June. So put it this way. I'm going to be blunt. If they aren't over 25 Game Pass subs by the end of the year, I would be concerned for its growth. So, because you're going to have the massive back-to-back of Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5. And keep in mind, that's basically Microsoft's 2 biggest franchises. Forza Horizon 5 has become a literal juggernaut. I mean, Forza Horizon 4 was over 24 million players, and that was as of last year. This game is probably at 30 million players by now. And then you have Halo, which we all know. Halo traditionally is Microsoft's game. So if they couldn't get over 25 after those 2, I'd be a little worried. I'm not going to lie. And I think Microsoft would be too. I'm being serious. I think inside Microsoft, if they were still not over 25, considering they were at low 20s in the summer after those games, I think you'd start to be like, wow, what do we need to do to really increase this? So I do think so, AK. 25 million, they've got to do that by the end of the year. My original forecast back whenever I was hearing 18 million at the beginning of the year, I was like, man, maybe they can do 30 by the end. Once I heard the low 20s as of June, that became harder. If they were at 25 million in June, then I would have been like, yeah, I think they can hit that 30 million. So 30, I think, is probably going to be a bit out of reach, but they've got to do 25 million or more. They got to. Pio's in chat. Pio White Wolf. Benji Hype. What is up, Pio? What is up, my man? Pio, can I just tell you something really quick if you're still here in chat? Bro, you killed me laughing yesterday. When you replied to the PlayStation account after the state of play and they said, like, what was your favorite announcement? And you just put in all caps, that sucked. I don't know why, Pio, but that killed me. Because you're always so positive about PlayStation, and I love it, right? I love to see people pumped about, like, you know, games and brands. It just killed me. I'm scrolling through my feed, and then there's you just, that sucked, right to the PlayStation account. Man, that was funny. I'm not going to lie, Pio, that was hilarious. Okay, I think I might have had some super chats. Holy cow. This has been an awesome chat for me today. And not just because of the super chats. I mean, the turnout, the questions, dude, there's so much. There's so much. There's so much. Highlander here with a 5 super chat coming in right here towards the end. We're going to wrap it up in the next 10 minutes or so because we're at a long stream again. Last week was a long stream too. And, you know, I love it, but there's so much. Highlander with a 5. Do you ever see an end of console wars and going back to just having fun playing games? No, I don't, Highlander. And it is a bummer. Y'all know I don't love console wars. Now, I'm also not one of those people personally that goes out and, like, I try to avoid yelling against console wars because what I've found, here's the thing. There's also, I know this is going to sound weird because I'm somebody that's traditionally been, like, super against console wars. I have discovered that there is, like, a different kind of console warrior that's kind of funny. And I know it's going to sound like blasphemy. Trust me, y'all. I am hardcore against console wars. There's some that do it as a joke, though. And I never realized that before until really Twitter. There's some that do it, like, literally funny. They don't even mean what they're saying. They're just being silly. Those ones bother me a lot less nowadays. They used to all bother me. Any console warrior stuff really aggravated me on any side. I've discovered there is a small, not all of them, but there's like a small amount of console warriors that are like tongue-in-cheek, like they're doing it for funniness. That doesn't bother me too much when it's non-toxic. Like it's just kind of like joking and like ribbing other console fan bases. That stuff bothers me less now than it used to. I will say the thing that drives me the most nuts that I hate, that literally the console warrior thing that drives me the most insane. There's 2 kinds. One of them are whenever they post like super zoomed in images of games on either side to make them look bad and they like play it in low resolution. And here's why I don't like it. I don't like it because it's like anti-console. I think it's an insult to developers and I really don't like that. I really don't like insulting devs on their hard work whenever a lot of times these games are great, right? Can you be critical of a game when it comes out and it's bad and things like that? Yeah. But I don't like when people take a game that's a quality game and they make it look as crappy as possible because you're just being insulting to devs. And I don't like that. So that I don't like. And I don't like when people just make numbers up or take data and really twist it to fit a narrative that it doesn't. So those are the 2 things that bother me. Will console wars ever go away? You know, no, because at the end of the day, humans are tribalistic and console wars comes from that tribalism mentality. That's literally where it comes from. It's the same reason why people get so like intense about like sports teams and they identify with the team and it's all about that team because it's an evolutionary thing, right? It's you know, or a what's the word I'm looking for? Man, my brain's blanking. But anyways, it's a cultural thing, right? It's about your tribe, your culture. And that's where it all comes from. And that's part of the way humans are. So I don't think it'll ever go away. I think it can get better. I definitely think it can get better, but I don't think it ever goes away. No. Humans would have to literally become something else. It's just part of our DNA. People are programmed to be tribalistic to some degree. You can overcome it, but it's in our DNA. Like, it's part of us. All right, Eric Franklin here with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Eric. Sorry if I'm late, but what was the Xbox stat no one is covering? You mentioned, oh, dude, good thing you said this, Eric. Holy cow, I completely fogged out on my brain. Okay, yeah, let's talk about this. I meant to talk about it earlier. So people are talking about it to a degree, but I don't think they realize, like, okay, so Series X and S. Are all consoles supply constrained right now? Yes. Series X is incredibly supply constrained. So right now, there are so many more Series S's being manufactured and sold than X's that it's wild. Okay, people don't realize right now the split. And early on, interestingly, very, very early on, it appeared to be a bit more of the opposite. It appeared to be like there was a bit more Series X's out there. That is not the case right now. Right now, like, Series S is just getting manufactured a lot more than X, which I think is a really interesting stat, because here's the thing. Series X has way higher demand than S in general. So Xbox right now has shipped over 8 million. That could be so much higher if they could make more X's, because that is the console particularly people want. Don't get me wrong, there is demand for S, but there's way more demand for Series X. And right now, Microsoft's just not manufacturing anywhere near enough. I mean, it's just not even, it is nowhere near enough. They're putting way more Series S on shelves than X's. It's not even close. Way more Series S than X. And that is a stat that stands out to me, just because the more in-demand consoles actually getting so much less manufactured, which has one encouraging sign for Microsoft, because what that means is there is still so much pent-up demand for X that they haven't met, that once they can get those consoles out there, they're going to sell them like crazy. But that is a stat that has stood out to me. It's like, wow, like, dude, as good, quote, quote, as Xbox is doing right now, over 8 million, looking like a good pace, that could be so much higher, because S is just getting way more replenishment than X is. So that stood out to me. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Okay. Okay. Just a few more. And I gotta go. I'm so sorry, but dude, so many questions in chat, and you guys are amazing. One or two more, and I'm out. And there's tons of good comments in here. Tons of good comments, everyone. Tons of good comments, tons of good questions. Andrew here. Andrew Rubies. Dude, I wish I knew. So Andrew Rubies. Hi, Benji. How does someone enter the sales analysis business? I'm just graduating. Andrew, you're already ahead of me. I don't work in this business. You know, that's one thing a lot of people don't realize, because I guess because my following's gotten pretty big on Twitter. You know, it should be over 30,000 next month. And, you know, a lot of industry people follow me, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. People like Aaron Greenberg, and I don't want to name drop, that's cheesy, but a lot of industry people follow me. And a lot of people think, because my stuff gets spread a bunch, because so many industry people follow me and interact with me, that that I work in the industry, and I don't. I'm an entry-level retail employee, so I can't give you great advice for how to enter into the business, because I haven't entered into the business. All my coverage is it's just for free and doing the best I can while working a job, and also juggling it with Twitter. So I don't have great advice for you. The people you'd want to ask are people that actually work in the field, like Matt Piscatella from NPD, or it would be Daniel over at Nico Partners. I've had some almost jobs, and they haven't worked out. You know, I can't go too into detail. I mean, I almost worked for one of the platform holders. You know, there was some interest there, and it just didn't work out. There was an opportunity, put it that way, to work for one of the console manufacturers even, as well as some publishers and other companies. So there's been interest there. Hasn't worked out for me. I have no experience in the field, haven't been trained in the field, have no college degree. This is literally me on my own, just reading this stuff every day, doing the best I can. And that kind of holds me back, right? I don't even know how to use Excel. So, so Andrew, you are already further down the path than I am, Andrew. So I hope you make it. I believe you can make it. Ask Matt, ask Daniel. They're going to be able to give you that great advice that I unfortunately do not have. But yes, I hope you make it, Andrew, if that's your goal, and I believe you will. Okay. One or two more. Gotta go. All right. Did I get them? Did I get them all? Did I get them good? Did I get most of the big questions? Lots of comments, which I'm reading, but I think I pretty much got King Lizard. I answered about the Switch. King Lizard says, I'm planning on buying a Switch. I'd appreciate if you respond to my question. I did answer that, King Lizard. Switch is still going to get software support for years to come. Years. Now, if you want to hold off till 2023 or 2024 to get a Switch 2, totally understand. But 2023, 2024. But honestly, the Switch still has a lot of life left in it. You're still going to see software support for that thing for years to come. I would expect software support for Switch 1, especially from Japan, all the way till 2025, potentially, judging on when Switch 2 comes out, 2024, 2025. Still has years. So if you want a Switch, I wouldn't be worried about buying a Switch right now. You're still going to be able to get games on that thing for years to come. And next year's an especially stacked year for the console. And there's already a ton of games on the platform. Tons you could buy. So I wouldn't worry about it. All right, I'm going to bounce. I think I pretty much got most of the big ones. And I really apologize if I missed. But I think I got most of the big questions today. If I missed yours, I really, really apologize. All right, everyone. Thanks for a great show. Thanks for a ton of super chats. You guys are way too kind, way too supportive of me. Hope we got some great conversations in there. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream as well. Okay. Really quick, my spiel. Like the video if you haven't already. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It helps people find my YouTube channel, that kind of thing. If you like doing these chats, just hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. We do one of these streams basically every week. Occasionally I'll miss a week. I don't love when I miss a week. I really try to hit it every single week. So traditionally we do one of these streams every single week. We'll be back next week. So yeah, like the channel if you haven't. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I'll see you all soon. If you follow me on Twitter, I'll see you in like probably few minutes. If you only see me on YouTube, then I'll see you here next week. All right, everyone, stay safe. Play some games. Have an awesome day. Have an amazing night, and I'll see y'all soon. All right, bye, 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 bye. Peace, bye. See ya. Bye, bye, bye.